everybody, how you doing? It's King Kevin Dorver back at it again. How you guys doing today, my beautiful kings and queens? Today we're going to talk about the movie Birth of a Nation, written by, or let's say written about Nat Turner by Nate Parker, who's an actor, doing great movies. He already did Red Tails, he did Felon, he did a couple of shows. I mean, the young brother doing his thing, you know. What I like about the movie, before I even seen the movie, which was premiered October 7th, 2016, Friday night, was the fact that I heard about the Sundance Festival contract he got. You know, Searchlight Films, Fox Searchlight Films bought the movie, the distribution rights. For those who understand what that means, it's the rights to distribute the movie. I'm not sure whether it's just national throughout the U.S. or international, but they bought it for $17.5 million. Now, Nate Parker, the actor who also starred in the movie, he, put his own $100,000 into the movie to produce it for $10 million. So to make sure he kept that residual income, royalties coming in. Now that's smart. That's a whole different mindset. You know, for people who are trying to win, you know what I'm talking about. Now the movie, kudos to everybody who starred in it. Let me say a couple of the names that starred in the film. They did a wonderful, beautiful job. The woman named Alord something King. They had a couple of actors. Gabriel Union was in the movie. I mean, it was beautiful. I mean, they did a great job. You know, and of course, they had a couple of white actors doing their thing as supporting actors and actresses. But what I loved about the movie the most is that it showed the powers of black people when we unify. You know what I'm saying? We unify, we trust, and we communicate. You know, that's what happened. You know, what I want people to understand that what happened with Nat Turner was the fact that his Revolutionary War within the colonies wasn't the first one. You had Denmark Vesey, then you had Gabriel Prosser. You know what I'm saying? So these were two individuals who wanted to start a big revolution, who was in the midst of it, but someone snitched and messed up the whole thing. You know, there was something called meritorious manumission. You know, I didn't first learn that term until I read a book by Brother Anderson Clark. I have the book somewhere here. I had it recently. It must be in my office on my desk. Nonetheless, if you have that book, go to page 66. You know, and it talks about how, you know, the colonists, the slave masters, the legislators, they all came up and created these policies to make sure that we didn't unify, that we didn't get together, that we didn't communicate. That's why it was so deadly and highly dangerous to be reading as a black person. As a matter of fact, just to make this be known, the reason why I started reading so much and became an author, well, a bunch of years later, or decades later, rather, the reason why I became an author was because I was told that you don't have something from a black person, put it in the book. So when I found that out, that personally, that offended me. You know what I'm saying? Like, put it in the book. What are they trying to say? So as I, became, conscious, as a young man, I began reading more and more because I understood and I seen that people in my community would not read. You know what I'm saying? Like most people watch this video, you don't know that Africa, the original name of Africa was Akabulan, which is the shirt that you got me wearing here, straight out of Akabulan. So shout out to Brother Malcolm, who sold me this shirt. Your Mother Africa got a baby right there with the vein and the trees. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. You know, so once we know and understand who we are as a people, then we understand and know what we are defending, what we're protecting, and what we are educating ourselves about, which is our African education, Afrocentric education. I made a video 2-3 years ago called The Importance of African-Centered Education. You know, and I talked about Nat Turner back then. And before I continue about the movie, Dr. Boris Shango, he's not the person that taught me about Nat Turner, but he's the one that really made me interested in wanting to learn more about him. So when I found out that Mr. Parker got a movie coming out about Nat Turner, I was like, yeah, right. The Hollywood is actually really gonna let a movie like this come out about, a young black man who's a pastor, a prophet, and learn how to read very young. He got tired of all the BS. He got tired of just seeing his women straight violated in any and every kind of way imaginable. And seeing his men just broken down. Even his father was a runaway African. You know, he ran away from the plantation and left him and his mom and his grandma. And he said he was gonna come back. I don't know if he ever tried or did he get caught. Who knows? But Nat Turner knew his identity. He knew who he was. He was very, very spiritual. You know what I'm saying? As a young age, he was reading, and like you notice in the movie, how he was traveling with the slave master, making money for the slave master. You know what I'm saying? Not for himself, but for the slave master to be wealthy and rich while he's out here preaching, because people wanted him to preach and continue teaching the good book. You know, continue imposing the principles of the Bible that it's good to be a slave, it's good to be subservient to your master. You know what I'm saying? So there's a couple of biblical scriptures. I'm not downplaying the Bible at all, so it's not even about that. You know what I'm saying? But you have to be conscious about what's going on, what's real. One of the things that this brother behind me, Dr. Amos Wilson, which I'm going to play like a little short clip of this video called The Feel Good History. And, Dr. Amos Wilson is a black psychologist. He probably mentioned Nat Turner a couple of times, but he doesn't really emphasize that, but he does emphasize that era about Nat Turner. How, our relationships in this world is based on a social condition. You know what I'm saying? The social system tells us who has power and who don't. You know what I'm saying? What we allow, what we don't allow. You know what I mean? So we're going to hear about that in a little bit. But with Nat Turner and his whole thing, and the lady he was with, I wish I could remember the sister's name right now. I'm going to say her name because I really do believe she is worth that. So we'll get back to that in a little bit. But I just want you guys to understand, if you did not see this movie, please go watch Birth of a Nation. You know what I'm saying? This movie, the fact that he even made it lets me know. And matter of fact, those names I just mentioned earlier, Denmark Vesey and Gabriel Prosser, Nat Turner, these three men around the same era. Well, with Gabriel Prosser, I hope I'm saying his name right. Yeah, I am saying it right. Prosser. He was very young. Now, he was born in 1775. You know what I'm saying? He was born in 1775, and he wanted to start a revolution when he was 26 years old. Now, this dude here, he knew about the Haitian Revolution. He knew about what was going on in Haiti and the uprisings going on in the Caribbean. Not just in Haiti, there was also a big one that was going on in Jamaica. But the one in Jamaica wasn't successful because they wasn't unified. What made the one in Haiti successful was because Toussaint Louverture, Jean-Jacques Dessalines, Henry Christophe, and those Haitian generals, especially Toussaint Louverture, the greatest military general of all times, and also strategist, he was able to get everybody together. Everybody under one common battlegrounds, one front line. Not various battles here and there, which I'm sure is going to go on, but if that's going to go on, that'll be something that we have strategized. Let's strategically defeat the French and the British and the U.S., who also supported the French, which is part of the reason why. And shout out to Haiti, my people in Haiti, much love to y'all. Hurricane Matthew, caused about 800 some deaths, over 824 the last count. When I talked to my cousin over the phone in Haiti, I'll be going there next month to start some missionary work. Actually, we've already started, but I'm going there to oversee the project myself. TheCourageToBelieve.com. Check it on my website. This is real deal. But let's get to this clip right here for a brief second, because I really want you guys to peep what Dr. Amos Wilson is saying here. All right, ready?
In terms of European structures, and I find that I'm only comfortable in working within those structures, and I can only advance those structures. The European system has this economic system set up in such a way that when you try to use this structured kind of thought outside of the system, it won't pay you. Yeah, it will punish you. And often your own group has problems with it, because our group only pays preachers. But it will rarely pay anyone else that tries to operate in its interest. And so you get caught up in two worlds. Socially, culture patterns, the ways in which its members relate to each other, interact with each other, perceive each other, and the ways they organize, develop, institutionalize, and apply their human potential in order to adapt to the conditions in which they live to satisfy psychological and social survival needs. Ultimately, as I said again and again, culture is about solving problems. But we're going to learn, as I've indicated before, solving problems in a cultural way, creating power in a cultural way, requires relating to each other in a particular sort of way. Implies interacting with each other in a particular sort of way and perceiving each other in a particular sort of way. I've indicated under other circumstances that individuals do not have power. Power is the result of the nature of social relations between people. The way people choose to interact with each other makes power. If you don't believe it, you can go back a few years and see how little white boys could order grown black men around. Were they big enough to beat them? Were they big enough? Did they have enough power to knock them down? No, they didn't. But it was because those little white kids were in a, structured framework and had behind them, a set of structures and strategies that because white people had chosen to relate to each other in a particular way and interact with each other in a particular way, and interact with us in a particular way, even a white child could come out and express power over black folk. But the power was not inherent in the child, but it was inherent in the culture and inherent in how that culture was designed and structured. And it's out of this, and this is what I told you before about an economic system. An economic system is not the mere existence of money. Mm-hmm. Economic systems existed prior to money. Money as an instrument of economy has come late in the history of man. And yet we've had economies for hundreds and thousands of years before money came into existence. So ultimately then, an economy must have something to do with the way people choose to cooperate with each other and relate to each other.
That's why I want you guys to listen. In a social system, what kind of system are we in? How is it that we relate to each other as black people? How do we relate with each other with white people? How they relate with us? Now, it's funny. The funny thing is how it's so difficult to gain support from one another. And I talked about the emeritus manumission policy that they had, back in the early 1800s. It's still prevalent today because we lack that support system, that cultural awareness, that racial pride. That's why emeritus manumission was created. It was created so that we would not trust each other, so that we would not support one another, especially in the revolution, or doing things that would work towards the betterment of ourselves. Now, what he's getting ready to say, and I kind of stopped the video, he was getting ready to say that the only people we support in our community is preachers. You know what I'm saying? That's the only thing that's acceptable to white supremacy, is we support our preachers, who supports and continues to project the religious dogmas of Christianity. Now, I don't consider myself a Christian, and those of you who don't know that, now you know that. Not saying I'm bashing Christians, but anybody who says they're a Christian, anybody, white, black, yellow, red, watch that movie. Not just this video, Dr. Amos Wilson, or any of his videos or books, but The Birth of a Nation. Because what you'll notice is that Christianity was imposed on the African people, not just imposed on them, but forced upon them. They didn't accept Christ. They would literally whoop them or beat them to death, because the Bible told them, they use those scriptures. I know there's one, I believe, in John and Peter about, it's verse 18, but I forgot the chapter, about being a servant and loving your master. You know what I'm saying? So they wanted to continue preaching that and beat that in our heads. Now, when you watch this movie, Birth of the Nation, you may cry. It's going to show you how the support system was amongst each other, and how we loved each other, and how it was also infiltrated by someone in the movie. Now, the emeritus manumission was also created, and the word I'm saying emeritus is M-E-R-I-T-I-O-U-S, manumission. It was constructed so that we would, first of all, not trust each other, and that to make sure we destroy any kind of unification and to ensure that we would not have royal, we are royal, we would not have racial pride. Now, watch the film and check out, oh yeah, I didn't say the actress name. The actress name in the movie, and I want to make sure I mention, Aja Naomi King. She actually got an Image Award from NAACP for her supporting role in that show, How to Get Away with Murder. I never watched the show. Another sister was in it. Coleman Domingo's in it. Penelope Ann Miller. And Janui Ellis. I love this lady. She is so beautiful. Of course, I mentioned Gabrielle Union. Listen, y'all. The whole point is, we have to be awakened. You know, Nat Turner waited for a sign. He waited for the eclipse, you know, in the sky, which is true. He waited for eclipse in the sky, and what he said in his own words is that when he seen the eclipse, he seen a sign from God saying that this was a black hand covering the sun, and that was to him, that was a sign. Now this happened in February 11th, 1831, the annual solar eclipse, and they seen he didn't move then, but he moved when he seen it again later that year, August 13th, 1831. You know, and that's what, okay, now it's time to move. So after he seen that, that's when, you know, he acted upon the vision that he had as a prophet, that he was to lead his people. He was very spiritual, and he used the Bible. He didn't just look at the Bible, he read into the Bible to understand what and where his place was in the world. Now, just to make sure I tell you guys what happened as an end result of the rebellion, which was shut down in 48 hours. But before it was shut down, before someone snitched on him, because when you snitch under the Meritorious Manumission policy, you also get a chance to become free or get extra food, because they were feeding the Africans that were enslaved one time a day sometimes. A very deplorable situation, very deplorable. The slave masters were degenerates, period. Now, 45 slaves were tried, 15 acquitted, 30 convicted, 18 were hanged, trial for insurrection. 5 free slaves were tried, 1 was hanged, and Nat Turner himself, he was beheaded and also skinned alive. Matter of fact, he never received a proper burial because it was such a big, spectacular event to see him get hanged. You feel me? So they cut his head, and supposedly his head is in some museum in Indiana, but they've been passing around. They did not want to make him a martyr. You know what I'm saying? They really wanted to not respect but honor him, and even though as black folks, there's organizations, committees trying to give him a proper burial. This guy, he was awakened. Denmark Vesey was awakened. Gabriel Prosser was awakened by the Haitian Revolution, 1804. Well, that's when it ended, but it started way before 1804, 1791 if I'm not mistaken. They heard about this, and that's the danger of communication and unification, us getting together and overturning white supremacy. God bless him. King Kevin Dorval. Go to my website, thecouragetobelieve.com or kevindorval.com. Follow me on Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter. Links below. That's at Courage to Believe. And I'm King Kevin. Bless up. Watch the movie Birth of a Nation.